Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to be sharing Erin with us today. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm so glad. Well, we're looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. So, if you wouldn't mind, if you share a little bit about your story and journey that led you to what you're passionate about today.
Okay, wow. Well, how much time do we have?
Right?
So, right now I currently work as a couple of different things. I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different career paths over the course of my life, and have now just been offering a little bit of everything that really aligns and speaks to me. So I work as a professional astrologer and a tarot reader. I also teach yoga, and it was my path through yoga that kind of brought me to all of these other things, which also include I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I do a lot of tech work behind the scenes for businesses. So a little bit of a mishmash there. But the story on how that all unfolded actually began with Reiki, where I started seeing a Reiki practitioner who also did past life regression when I was in my late teens, maybe early 20s. And she really had a profound impact on me and my mental health. At the time, I was really struggling with depression and anxiety, and noticed such a benefit from doing these Reiki sessions with her. And it was kind of the doorway. It opened a door for me into more of these spiritual and esoteric practices, which I had always been really drawn to. And so at some point, then I kind of got into doing yoga, which led me to then work at a yoga studio. And for years, I managed yoga studios and then started teaching yoga, and thought that my dream and end goal for my career was to own my own studio. And so when I got pregnant with my first daughter, who's now just turned 6, after I had her, I just realized that the job that I was working at, I just couldn't spend that much time away from her. And it seemed like the right time to open that studio finally, where I could have more freedom to be with her, to do a lot of the work from home, and bring her with me if I needed to. And so that's what I did. And that was in 2019.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I was not a year into my studio when COVID hit. And that was just such a game changer because it was forced to shut down. And I just knew then that, I couldn't keep the studio going in that current environment, and that was going to be it for me, that I wouldn't open another one. I just felt that organically in my body. And I did that and wasn't sure what to do next. And I got back in touch with these things that I had always been really passionate about, like astrology and tarot, and kind of poured myself into that and made it a career path. And then also realized that the things that I had taught myself to open the yoga studio, like how to design a website and all of the software management that came with that, was a strength that I could use to help other studio owners. Like I'm in my friend Bob's studio right now, so I do those things for him behind the scenes. But yeah, that's kind of I guess, the overview of what led me to where I am right now. And I'm just grateful to be able to like kind of integrate and offer all of these things, because there is such a crossover, especially when it comes to um, astrology and a practice like yoga, because there's this whole component to one of the things I specialize with in astrology is medical astrology. And we can see in our charts so much of what we need as individuals in order to live a healthy lifestyle and to kind of support our own wellness shows up not just in our lives, but in the stars, which I find just fascinating and really interesting. So I'm at this point now in my career where I'm exploring all the intersections, right, between the things that I'm passionate about and my own strengths. If that makes sense.
Oh, it completely does, and I'm just so excited for, the millenniums and Gen Z and everything. Because, I mean, when I was growing up and I first learned about what we called New Age, it was like cult. It was in the
Yes.
closet. There was no
Mhm.
such thing as quantum physics or,
Yeah.
past life regressions or hypnosis. I mean, I'm giving away my age now. So it's like so exciting that all these resources are available so that people can like accelerate your your purpose or your growth much, much faster now. So, I mean, because you said you were a teenager when you first got on this path.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. And something you mentioned about the astrology that I wasn't quite familiar with was looking at it from a medical or
Yeah.
a health standpoint.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So astrology is really such a really rich practice of there's so much depth to it. It's something that you could study for a lifetime, really. And there's so many different ways that you can use it and apply it to your daily life. So I think most people think about astrology, especially in more modern terms of self-analysis, right? Or behavioral patterns or things like that, of kind of looking at our chart to better understand ourselves, which is certainly true. And one of the things I love most about astrology is just how validating it can be. Like, oh, yeah, that's who I am. And this is reflected here in kind of this. I think about an astrological chart as a blueprint. Maybe it's a contract, right, that we set when we come into this lifetime and being in this particular body, right?
Right.
Where it's an energetic blueprint of what we co-sign on working with in this lifetime. And so having an understanding of that, of what shows up in our chart, can be very empowering and very validating. And it helped me to understand a lot of myself. But that's not where astrology, ends. We can also use it to as a predictive tool to
Right.
see kind of what's coming, right? What were the energies that are at play right now, currently, also in our past, and that are coming up in the future so that we can be prepared, to have some kind of idea of like, okay, this might be not be the best time for this. Keep your eye out for that. I kind of describe it as like you could think about the transits, the upcoming or current astrology is kind of what neighborhood are you driving through? Right? Are you?
Interesting. I like that analogy.
Yeah, because I was trying to explain it to like my mom and my mother-in-law and my husband because my youngest daughter had a transit that was, something I wanted to keep an eye on. I wanted to just everybody to be aware, like she might be more clumsy, watch, just keep more of an eye on her right now. She's two. So, you know, she's a 2-year old on top of it. But I likened it to, it's kind of like she's driving through a bad neighborhood right now. So what do you do then? You might want to roll up your windows, lock your doors, and keep your eyes open a little bit more than if you were driving somewhere through the countryside where, you're very familiar or close to home or something like that. So you can use astrology that way as a predictive tool. You can use it to look at relationships, at synastry between people, and to understand our relationships with others in that way. And one of the ways that I find it most fascinating to use is medically, to either understand our propensities towards certain illness and disease that maybe we have in our chart and support them. There's ways that you could look at, what type of exercise would best suit you, what kind of food you should intake more or less of, how to best support your sleep patterns. All of this shows up in our chart. And then if there is a situation where someone is looking to support themselves through a particular illness or disease, understanding what's happening in your chart from a medical astrology perspective can be very helpful in um, assisting the traditional methods of treatment. So it really does give so much information just by the time, day, and place that you were born. And
I
one of my
love
favorite,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, one of my favorite things is really, of course, I love working with people I know when it comes to astrology, but it's really fascinating to do a reading for someone that I've never met because there's so much that you can tell from their chart that ends up being really spot on that I could never know about this person. So it's really a huge passion of mine.
What I really love about how you present it is that it's a tool on, like when you refer to it as in the medical realm, is how to navigate your healing process.
Yes.
Not like it's a life sentence,
No, not at all.
right? That it's just this could be highlighted for you to how to take care of yourself or how or what, like a pointer is to how to go forward from here.
Exactly. How to best support yourself. Even sometimes it can be helpful when there are situations where the medical community can't find a diagnosis. It can kind of help to point you in a certain direction of things that maybe hadn't been considered. You can use it in combination with astroherbalism to know how to best support the body that way. There's just so much that it's really a wealth of knowledge that we can use to better support our own bodies, our own energy, our own experience, and our own wellness when it comes to looking at things from a really holistic understanding and standpoint.
I love that. It's like another piece of the puzzle, another tool to use in our arsenal
Exactly.
of
Of healing.
navigating. Yeah.
Yeah. And healing, because we all have healing to do, whether it's on a physical level, emotional, mental, spiritual. We're we're these energetic beings in this human experience, spiritual beings, right? So we're here to learn and grow and heal. And I love astrology because it is kind of like a tangible blueprint of how to do that. And then of course we have free will and we can make choices and follow our own intuition and all of that on top of it, but it can be a really, like you said, a wonderful tool.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, so I'm assuming that you can do this online now with folks.
Yep, that's the only way I do astrology readings is like this, one-on-one with clients. It's great because I can pull charts right up and share our screen. You could be anywhere in the world and work together, and it just works very well in this format.
And is that your most favorite thing that you're doing right now, or do you have a passion for something else as well?
It is my most favorite thing. I'm also very passionate about tarot and the crossover with astrology and tarot. Um, so I would say I think just like the occult sciences in general, I've always been very passionate about. But it's like I'll never stop doing yoga and I'll probably never stop teaching it because that's so rich too. But it does seem that there was a shift for me in terms of a career path when it came to what I was being pulled towards or guided to do or found myself really interested in.
Interesting. Isn't it funny? And had COVID not come along, you might not have questioned it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's my mom always says that the universe unfolds perfectly. So I do trust that, the divine timing of things.
I know. I wish more of us could learn to do that and everything, even if it doesn't appear to be for our highest good, that in the bigger picture that we can't see, I really truly believe it is.
I do too. It's difficult sometimes because it's our nature to want to know what's going on, and it's really hard to trust, and we want to control and hold on. Um, and yoga's helped me a lot with that ability to kind of like let go of that need, and to trust in my guides or the divine, or however you want to frame it, that we are, working towards being in alignment with our highest good.
It is, and I think the when each of us wake up to that, that's the answer, that's the solution.
Yes, the calling, right?
Yep, yep. And overcoming all those fears and hesitations and finding your tribe and the support group to do it.
Yes, and I think that the hardest part sometimes is just getting out of our own way, right?
Right? Yep.
Like like finding that empowerment, stepping into our own power, not being afraid to be who we are, and to believe in ourselves, to believe in our own worth, and to know that we all have something unique to offer, right?
It is. Well, I love how what you have to offer and that you can, this medical perspective and also, using the tarot cards in conjunction with it. That's so
Yeah.
fascinating. I love this.
Yeah, so one of my teachers described it as that astrology is kind of like looking at things from Google Earth, right? Where you can get this kind of big overview of someone's whole life, and kind of these archetypal umbrellas of how energies could play out, but that only kind of takes you so far. And then tarot is more like Google Street View, where you can then zoom in closer on a situation to get a little bit more guidance about what would it look like if I do this, what would it look like if I do that. So I do really like to use them in conjunction with each other. I think that they're both very useful tools and practices
It's so
on their
fascinating.
yeah, on their own and then together. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool stuff.
All right, so I want to let everybody know that we will be sure to put all of Erin's contact information above this interview. So if you want to connect with her and have a astrology reading, and it doesn't have to be medical either, right? It's
Oh no. Yep, I do all kinds of birth chart. I think it's always helpful to start with a birth chart reading just to understand, get an overview. Astrology can be like looking at it's like a different language. So just understanding your own chart and how that's playing out, and then taking that a little bit deeper into those different areas of life. And the best way to kind of explore my offerings or work with me is just through my website, which is erinlento.com. Pretty simple.
all right. Well, we'll be sure to put that above this interview. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So before we go today, is there any last parting words of wisdom you want to share with us today?
I would just encourage anyone that's at all interested in something like astrology to just, make the investment in yourself, to work with a professional astrologer, to understand your own birth chart. It really is like having a very helpful map to kind of guide and navigate you through the uncertainty of life. And like I said, for me, it's always been just very validating. Where I would second guess, why am I like this? Or I should be different. And then learning about my chart, it was, oh, no, this is the energy. I can work with that, right? If there's something I want to change with it, but this is really who I am and who I'm meant to be. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's just kind of figuring out how to make some adjustments.
Right? Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Erin. It's been such a pleasure. And like I said, be sure to reach out to Erin, or if you just have questions for her, we'll make sure how you can get in touch with her. So thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great.